Good afternoon. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee for June 10th, 2025. I am Jamal Osman, and I'm the chair of this committee. Before we begin the meeting, I want to remind all members, staff, and the public that this meeting are broadcasted live to enable greater public participation. They include real-time captioning to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful to the rate of their speech so our captioners can fully transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. We'll be using speaker management, so please sign in. At this time, I'll ask clerk to call the roll so we can verify a quorum.
Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Cashman.
Present.
Jenkins is absent. Chowdhury.
Present.
Vice Chair Ellison.
Here.
And Chair Osman.
Present.
There are 5 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Our agenda is before us. Does anyone have any motion to amend the agenda? Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Osman. I would like to make a motion to amend the biz agenda and add to consent before you the staff direction to the legislative department to undertake a research analysis around pet restrictions, fees in rental housing in Minneapolis, and then also doing a landscape analysis of policies related to regulated pet weight and breed restrictions.
Thank you. On the motion to amend the agenda, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Before we proceed to the public hearing on items, our agenda, we will first take our consent agenda, which is item 6 through 20. Item 6 is approving 9 liquor license. Item 7 is approving 54 liquor license renewals. Item 8 is approving 4 gambling license. Item 9 is authorizing a grant application to 2025 Metro Council Livable Community Account and Transit Account. Item 10 is accepting and authorizing a construction grant for the Arbor Harbor Terminal Outdoor Music Performance Venue. Item 11 is authorizing a contract amendment to the changing the developer for the property at 2714 Bryan Avenue North. Item 12 is adopting the alternative urban area-wide review update for mitigation plan for the Arbor Harbor Terminal. Item 13 is authorizing a Great Street loan for the Latino Center for Community Engagement. Item 14 is approving a 21 Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Housing. Item 15 is receiving and filing appointment letter to 3 external seats for the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Housing. Item 16 is approving an appointment to the seat for the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. Item 17 is approving a 2 amendment to the 2025 license fee schedule, which are sauna established fees and window cleaning fees. Item 18 is approving a legislative directive related to the Minneapolis Skyway System. Item 19 is referring to the staff subject matter of ordinance by adding a new title entitled Planning and Developing within Administration's Enforcement Chapter. Lastly, item 20 is setting a public hearing for June 24, 2025 to consider issuing a housing revenue bond to Snelling Yacht Family Housing Project. With that, does anyone have any comments or questions? Sorry, my thing is not working here. All right, I'll recognize Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. I'm wondering if we could maybe pull 18 for a discussion, please.
All right. Anyone else? Councilmember Katie Cashman.
Thank you. I was going to speak on item 18 as well, so wait for that discussion to introduce the legislative directive.
Councilmember Ellison.
Nothing to pull, just wanted to highlight item 10. It's a big deal for the north side to see this project live a long life. This is the Upper Harbor Terminal project, and I see we have one of the developer, Dana Frank is here. It's good to see you. And I know that a lot of engagement with community over the years has gone on, and Dana and the development team have been great in how they've engaged the community, and so just wanted to highlight that because it's a big deal for the north side. That's all. So thank you.
All right, wonderful. See no one else. I will approve all consent agenda except item 18. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, I will go back to number 18, Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. Thank you. Perhaps it'd be appropriate if you spoke first and I have questions.
Yes, Councilmember Cashman, please.
Thank you, Chair Osman, and thank you, Councilmember Rainville. So I'm introducing a legislative directive today to look at the matter of enforcement of the current Skyway ordinance that we do have in place. And this is a directive to the mayor's office to come back to this committee in September with a presentation on how our departments, whether that's health department, CPED, regulatory services, and public works can collaborate on how to enforce the Skyway ordinance and how to bring new activation and life to the Skyway network. So just for those who don't know, we do have an ordinance in place that regulates hours of operation. So Skyways need to be open until 10 p.m. on weekdays and also to a certain time on Saturdays and Sundays. But since COVID-19, that has not been the case. And so you'll see on the Meet Minneapolis website of their Skyway description, it'll say, most Skyways are open until 6 p.m. And so it comes up very frequently for both residents of downtown as well as visitors that they struggle to understand the hours of operation of the Skyway network, how to access the Skyway network. And, these are all privately owned for the most part, except the parts that are under our and county and federal ownership. And so we do need to come to some level of public interest and governance over the Skyway network to assist with getting hours back open to pre-COVID levels. And happy to answer any questions about this.
Thank you, Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. So I would just like to offer some ideas about this legislative amendment. I think it's good to look into this, and I'll speak with the clerk afterwards so I can give you the exact questions I have to be included in this. But it's the city has some Skyways, so what are those hours that are we enforcing our own rule? Curious as to the amount of users, say from 7 to 8 or 9 or 10, those late night users. The cost of operating after 6, building damage, calls for service, and then, how is this paid for? So the money, I know we collect money from the Downtown Improvement District for these types of public amenities, but do these residential buildings kick in anything as well? So just specific questions that as our staff drills into these, if I could have those included, please.
Yes, thank you. And would you like to formally amend the legislative directive, or would you like to ask for a staff memo with those questions answered?
I'm looking at our wise attorney. Mm-hmm. What would be the best way to amend or to just have this included in as
if the author? Thank you, through the chair, Councilmember Rainville. If the author is open to it, you could propose a friendly amendment to the legislative directive and vote on that.
Okay, great. Well, then why don't we do a friendly amendment with
Yes.
those items I listed? And again, I'll get these exact items to the clerk. So
Would you like to be a co-author of this
I would
legislative
love to be a
directive?
co-author. Yes.
That sounds wonderful. So we'll work on that before full council.
Right, wonderful. Did you move the item for approval?
I'll move this for approval.
All right, with that, all those in favor say aye.
Councilmember Osmond, can I
sorry.
interrupt really quick?
Yes, please.
Could you also move Councilmember?
I wasn't sure if we moved it on the consent already.
We amended the agenda, but we
Okay.
didn't formally, but I just want to make sure.
Sure. Let's take this one first, and then Okay, let's move, let's vote for item 18. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, and now we are back to Councilmember Chowdhury's amendments. And Councilmember Chowdhury, would you like to move this item?
Yes, I would very much like to move this item. Could I get a second?
Second.
All right, with that motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, now we will proceed to the public hearing of a portion of our agenda. This is a public hearing for sauna licensing ordinance adding a new chapter to the legislative sauna establishment. I'll ask Greg Allison to provide update for that. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair Osmond, committee members. I am Craig Eliason, District Supervisor in Licenses and Consumer Services, presenting an ordinance amendment to Title 13 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances relating to licenses and building regulations, adding a new Chapter 333 entitled Sauna Establishments to regulate sauna establishments. While saunas have always been in existence in the city of Minneapolis, their popularity as a wellness tool has increased in the last several years. In particular, the use of mobile saunas has become increasingly popular. The Minneapolis Parks and Recreation Board routinely permits mobile saunas in the city's parks throughout the year. This ordinance amendment will ensure saunas are operated in a safe and healthy manner while addressing health and livability issues when used near residential properties. Saunas that are located inside a facility, such as a gym, health club, hotel, or spa, are excluded from the requirements of this chapter. There are currently no requirements for sauna establishments on the city level. This ordinance will put into place requirements for submissions of plans and specifications for the sauna equipment, construction and maintenance requirements, and grant authority to city staff to perform inspections to verify compliance. The ordinance will also regulate the hours of operation, duration, and placement near residential property. Liability insurance will also be required for the license holder in the minimum amount of $1 million per occurrence. If passed, this chapter shall be effective September 1st, 2025. The ordinance was produced in collaboration with Minneapolis Health Department staff, Minneapolis Planning staff, and Minneapolis Park and Recreation staff to establish requirements for sauna establishments operating in the city of Minneapolis. This concludes my presentation, and at this time, I will stand for any comments or questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. And now I'm going to proceed to open the public hearing and see if there's anyone who signed up. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and move this item for approval. Oh, sorry. Councilmember Cashman, my apologies.
Thank you. I would like Mr. Eliason to answer a few questions for me. First of all, I'm kind of concerned that there's no one here at the public hearing today, given that this is like one of the fastest growing industries, and there are so many mobile sauna companies here in the city that are going to be highly impacted by these regulations, and I'm very concerned that they haven't been consulted with properly. I haven't heard anything about their feedback on this ordinance, and I'm wondering if you did any community engagement with sauna companies in establishing these regulations, because what I heard from your presentation was that you've mostly worked with health department staff and parks and rec staff, but not actually consulting with sauna owners.
Yeah, and again, Chair Osmond through Cashman. Yeah, and again, the mobile saunas, as you say, they are the increasingly popular. And right now, there are no regulations regarding them, even though the park board regularly admits them. We didn't have a database on which to send it out. It is also obviously posted on the city's website. I don't know if Mr. Stenzel from the park board might have consulted with any of their mobile saunas. But a lot of this was through the park board. Mr. Stenzel had a lot of input on what he would like to see and what they're seeing with their mobile saunas. So, I mean, to answer your question, I don't know that we really reached out. We didn't have a good database of those mobile saunas.
Okay, thank you. And then second question would be, like, what is the problem that we're trying to solve? And do you have evidence that there is a problem? Do you have 311 complaints that show a consistent issue? Or what sort of data are you using to show that saunas need to be regulated?
Chair Osman, Councilmember Cashman. Yeah, this was brought with the health department, and they did an air quality study. And what they determined is a high level of particulates in the air surrounding wood-fired mobile saunas. So, and the health department was part of this collaboration, and that was what they were drawing. There was concerns with these uses near residential areas. So that's why the ordinance put into the duration and location near residential services, because they did an air quality study, and they found that the wood-burning saunas did create a health hazard.
Okay, if you do have evidence for that, I think that I would request a staff follow-up on that, and that would be added to the LIMS file. As it is right now, I can't support this because I don't have enough information, and so I would request also a briefing before a full council if we're to take action on this. But I am wondering if Director McMahon has some more context to add.
Thank you, Chair Osman, Councilmember Cashman. I'm Meg McMahon, Planning Director in CPED. So the impetus for this work really has come out of probably I want to say two winters ago now. So it's been maybe 2.5 years in the making. So prior to these current regulations, at present, sauna operators are required to get a zoning permit from the city. So we issue temporary use permits, and that's the methodology through which we regulate the use. About 2 years ago or 2 winters ago, we received numerous complaints about commercial saunas that were operating in and around the Linden Hills area. They were wood-burning saunas. There was 2 or 3 of them that were going pretty much 11 to 14 hours a day in and near our residential neighborhoods. And so the smoke that was being produced from those was creating concerns. Through that process, our public health department, which has air monitoring equipment throughout the city, had done some analysis around that and was able to pinpoint and actually identify very severe spikes in particulate matter that was occurring as a result of these saunas. So we had some good, hard data that we were looking at around that. In addition, public health had done some inspections of the saunas, and so aside from the very real air quality concerns, there was also just some public health concerns around the safety of the structures themselves, how people were participating in the cold plunge that often is accompanying the sauna experience, and that was being done in a clean, sanitary manner. And so we sort of simultaneously had some interest from some council members and the mayor's office to create some rules that allowed these to occur, but in a way that mitigated some of the harms that we were seeing in kind of the pop-up ad hoc nature of them. And so this really is a culmination of that. We worked really closely with the park board. I believe 612 Saunas was involved in those conversations early on because they were, we received some complaints specific to them. And so they were engaged, and they're kind of one of the larger operators of these sort of temporary pop-up saunas. And then we also worked with the public health department. So the components of this are a couple different components. One deals with the smoke that's being caused from the wood burning nature of these. So if you're going to have a wood burning sauna, there's limits to how long the duration, how long it can be out, and then its proximity to residential properties. Otherwise, it would allow, it doesn't in any case prohibit those saunas. You just have to then be electric saunas if you're going to be next to residents or for longer than 3 days. And then it creates some really bare minimum kind of health and safety in terms of like this box that heats up, that it's done in a way that's safe and people can be in there safely. And that was really at the request of the park board, because they don't have a mechanism to oversee that, and they're getting lots of requests for these saunas to be placed, and they don't have really a way to make sure that the saunas are particularly safe, right? So licensing them in a manner that's really similar to how we do food trucks, where, the structure gets a license, and then it can go ahead and operate wherever it wants to in the city within the parameters of permission from the park board, or that they're not causing harm to neighbors. So that's essential, the kind of components of this work. Happy to meet with you separately too, and to go over it in more detail.
Okay, thank you for all of that context. Again, would love to see like the evidence behind the 311 complaints or the problem that is happening. Also curious, we've had an entire sauna village set up at Malcolm Yards the last couple of years. So how would that like amazing event as part of the Great Northern Festival be impacted by this ordinance would be another question. I'm not sure if you've done outreach with Malcolm Yards or with the festival, or Superior Saunas or Embrace North or some of these other facilities.
Chair Osman, Councilmember Cashman, I don't believe we've had direct interaction with them, though we are aware of those and the model for those, and agreed, like, the direction that we heard from policymakers is what we want to allow this. We want more opportunities for people to experience saunas, and that it's certainly something that's has the potential to be special to our region and to our area and be part of our brand, and that's something that we wanted to promote. And so I don't believe that any of our regulations would preclude any of those things. I think quite the contrary. I think the intention is to be clear about where they're allowed and that they are in fact allowed in more places, right? And to just deal with those sort of specific concerns that we had around the air quality, and then just the basic safety around the structures themselves.
Do you know if the Malcolm Yard Sauna Festival falls within the residential gap whereby they wouldn't be able to do wood-fired anymore?
I believe that if it's, so you can do the wood-fired for up to 3 days. And then beyond that, they would either need they would be within that range, right? So then would either need to be electric saunas or not have them there, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Chair Osmond, and thank you for this explanation here today. I will ask my staff to follow up with the meeting so I can have more of my specific questions answered about these different cases and see where it's addressed in the ordinance. So thank you for the presentation you've done. Thank you.
Vice Chair Allison.
Thank you. I was just going to ask staff a little bit about just a few things, a few more follow-ups just based on Councilmember Cashman's questions that I think are all valid questions. One is, this is the ordinance that we're passing, but I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of program manual, some kind of manual that spells out exactly how enforcement's going to go. Just curious to know how you guys were thinking about that.
Councilmember Ellison to the Chair, Osman. Yeah, with any license, any business license, business licensing is responsible for answering complaints. Majority of those come through 311. We field complaints from numerous sources, but we do answer all complaints, do an investigation, and we will be working closely with the health department when doing those.
Because I think about some of the questions that are coming up, and of course, to me, it doesn't sound like the ordinance is designed to prohibit saunas so much as it's designed to make sure that we can have some manner of control over sort of a new hobby or activity that could be contributing to poor air quality, right? And like that I don't want us to be, slow walking or compromising on. But I think that, but I do think that if council members are curious about, okay, how's implementation going to go, or if council members have ideas about how they should go, or if council members feel like there's public engagement. I know every time we do, I've worked on tenant items. There's been public meetings that we've held that have been partnerships between staff and council members who usually are the authors of those bills. And so I think that should be. I don't want to discourage that kind of activity from happening. And so I think that if we've got an appetite for that level of public engagement, I do think that we should get involved in. And then who's the current author? I forgot who's the current author of this ordinance. Jamal, okay. Yeah, so I think, yeah, if council members are interested, I think partnering with the author and staff and pulling together a meeting where that can happen, I'd love to know from Councilmember Cashman. I feel like this is an ordinance that I'm going to support, especially because there's a public health element to be achieved, but wanted to get a sense of how you're feeling at this point. If you are interested in holding this item a cycle, forwarding without recommendation, just voting against it today, and maybe figuring out what you're going to do by full council, just because you've brought up some of these questions and would love to give you the opportunity to get those questions sort of addressed and resolved.
Thank you, Vice Chair Ellison, and I do apologize for, not having all these questions answered with the author and staff in advance, and I think this was just noticed and introduced last month, so I think it has moved fairly quickly. Like, it hasn't been as if there's been months of time in between it being noticed, and so I would ask if we could hold this a cycle for us to have that conversation and not have to do it super rushed, unless there's any reason why the author or others feel that we need to move super quickly.
Does staff feel like there's any urgency around this item? Could we hold it a cycle yeah.
Okay, great. That would be my motion then, to continue this a cycle.
I don't even think we have to make a motion. I think if the chair wants to hold it and there's no objection, we can do that.
Sure. We still have, we have been joined by Councilmember Jenkins. I will recognize Councilmember Chowdhury.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo support to hold this a cycle. I think, especially with unique business types or any business types, what I learned through the process around our cannabis ordinances is there's always more than meets the eye in terms of what it takes a business to execute what they need to do. And I think we would gain some value in just having a conversation with the different sauna proprietors to see what might be some questions they have. Maybe there's some input they could provide that would be valuable to this ordinance and its success, because I think along with everyone want to make sure that this is a use that's possible, and we're also ensuring the health of the residents in our city. And I don't want to unintentionally prevent either from happening.
Great. Thank you, and thank you for staff. I see the staff is okay and giving the thumbs up here. Thank you for your work on that. With Councilmember Cashman's motion to hold one cycle on this item, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. All right, our next public hearing is Minneapolis Homes Property Sale, which approves and authorizes a land sale and financial agreement with 11 selected developers. Here to present on this item is Tara Thompson from Seabed. Welcome.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, Chair Osman and council members. My name is Tara Thompson, and I'm the Senior Project Coordinator with CPED's Residential Real Estate and Development Team. And today I will be presenting recommendations for sale of city-owned property and financing awards through our Minneapolis Homes Property Purchase and Financing Program. If you have questions, I kindly ask that you please hold them until the end of my presentation. To frame today's discussion, I want to start out with the values and goals behind our work. The City of Minneapolis has 7 key housing strategies it employs, and today's presentation touches on and/or intersects with 3 of those 7 strategies, which are Strategy 1, which is to increase housing supply, diversity, and affordability in all neighborhoods. Strategy 4, which is to improve and sustain access to affordable home ownership, particularly for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, i.e. BIPOC residents. And Strategy 7, which is to maximize potential of publicly owned land to meet city housing goals. To ensure that we are reaching the households that this program is designed to help, I want to take a moment to talk about the maximum household income our program serves. Per our program guidelines, The borrower's household income may not exceed 80% of area median income, or AMI. The limit helps ensure that home ownership opportunities are accessible to low to moderate income households who have historically faced barriers to home ownership. Now that you've seen a brief overview of our program's values and goals, let's look at how we evaluate proposals when they come in. Minneapolis Homes review criteria are used to help us determine which projects receive financing awards. We examine each proposal through a feasibility and capacity analysis, and it is scored using council-approved criteria that consists of cost effectiveness, alignment with local affordable housing needs, support for equitable wealth-building opportunities, and inclusion of unique design features that advance city goals. With the program overview in mind, I will now present key recommendations we're putting forward for council approval today. Staff recommends funding 22 proposals, which will collectively create 25 units of housing, representing an approximate investment of $5.9 million. Of the 25 proposed units, 24 are located on city-owned vacant land, and 1 is located on privately owned land. These 22 proposals are from 12 developers, all of whom have participated in our Minneapolis Homes financing program directly or through a development partner. Also, additional funding is being proposed for a previously awarded project that will create 10 units of deeply affordable ownership housing. Of these developers, 67% are BIPOC-led, 16% are women-led, and the majority of proposals, which is about 87%, are to develop single-unit developments, with the remaining being comprised of 2-unit projects this round. Next slide. Okay. This, along with the following slides, highlights staff recommendations. Each proposal reflects our joint commitment in partnership with our developers, and some of whom are here today, to expanding affordable home ownership opportunities in our city. All of the recommendations for this round will serve 80% AMI households, with the previously awarded 10-unit project serving 60% AMI. Our recommendations are as follows. Amani Construction and Development LLC will receive funding for 2 single-family homes, and TUI Village Homes LLC will receive funding for 1 single-family project. We are also recommending funding to PRGI&C to construct 3 single-family homes, and funding is also being recommended for eStar Masters LLC to build 3 single-family units. Build Wealth Minnesota Inc. has also been recommended to receive funding to construct 4 single-family homes, and Greater Metropolitan Housing Corporation, Ibiza LLC, and JR Remodelers and Builders have each been selected for recommendation of funding to build 1 single-family unit. John Ash Inc. has been selected to build 1 twin home project, and Magnolia Homes LLC has been recommended for funding to construct 2 twin home projects. Refresh Real Estate LLC has been recommended as well to build 1 single-family home, and Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity Inc. has also been recommended to build 2 single-family housing units. Finally, we are also recommending that additional funding to construct a 10-unit development by Trio Development Group LLC that will serve 60% AMI households. Okay. To close, I want to highlight the overall impact of our efforts to date. With the additional units recommended today, the total cumulative impact of our affordable housing initiatives since 2021 totals to 302 affordable units awarded throughout the city of Minneapolis. This work reflects not only the dedication of our team and partners, but the city's shared commitment to racial equity and economic inclusion through affordable home ownership. In addition, thank you for your support in making this progress possible as well. And that ends or concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. And I'll stand for questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Before we take the questions, I would like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this item or this presentation? See no one, I'll close the public hearing and also recognize Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. I just have one question. That 10-unit complex in South Minneapolis, is that owner occupied or will that be rental?
That will be home ownership, so ownership.
Can you see me, how big my smile is?
Yes.
Thank you. That's great news.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
developers have been working really hard to get
Yeah.
that off the ground.
Good job, Alfred.
Councilmember Vice Chair Ellison.
Yeah, just wanted to thank you for the presentation, and as always, this is really great work, really important work, and we're in a moment where we have this track record of being really great on housing. I think we'll continue it as a city, but it's getting harder and harder to, ensure options for people, and so just always am impressed by, our housing team's ability to put this together and to put, emerging developers, residents in a great position to expand their housing options. So thank you for the presentation.
Also, thank you so much for that presentation, and thank you for the housing team for working with minority, new emerging developers who are, competing the market. As you know, you have been super helpful to really help them out. And, we do have a lot of empty partials, and I don't know if I missed that part of it. All these properties, are they getting help with subsidy, or are there some of them, because sometimes we receive ones that are just, not without the subsidy. Are those included in this?
Yeah,
properties?
thank you, Chair Osman. Yes, subsidies are included in the form of Project GAP to help our emerging developers to make the project financially feasible in order to construct and complete. And down payment assistance is also included in that subsidy to assist residents who have been locked out of access to gain affordable home ownership in order to make that possible for them to get into those homes.
Okay, wonderful. Awesome, great. Thank you so much. I will move this item for approval, but first I will recognize Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Osman, and thank you so much for the presentation. It is hopeful and enlightening to see these properties being redeveloped. I'm curious, though, what was the process for selecting the developers? Can you talk a little bit about that? And then subsequently, how will we identify potential owners?
Okay. Thank you, Chair Osman, and through Council Member Jenkins. So the process, once we receive the proposals, we measure against whether or not the project is going to be feasible or not. Does it also align with our housing goals from a city perspective? And that can be focused either depending on our priorities for that round, whether it's single family or multifamily, and what we have in terms of inventory. So making sure that the available parcels align with what can be constructed on that. In addition to that, it needs to meet guidelines for design to ensure that it is affordable throughout the life of ownership for households. So we examine all of those aspects, and we also, evaluate the track record of our applicants to determine how realistic the process will be in terms of getting to completion. And to address your second question, in terms of identifying potential homeowners, in our application, we ask our developers to outline what their approach for marketing and getting the information out there for those targeted demographic households to be able to know about what's going on, what's being built, and how they can access that. So if they have a strong track record, number one, or a strong plan for the newly emerging developers, we examine that to determine whether or not they move forward.
So have buyers been identified at this point?
In some instances, buyers can be identified, but usually it's after the home has been constructed. And so we're making sure, too, that they tap in, they are aligned with the plan that they outlined in their application.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to add what Councilmember Jenkins was asking. I think it's important for our residents to have access, availability of housing. We subsidized large apartments. We have this home ownership program. Maybe just the feedback of having residents being able to access somewhere they can go. It could be a city website, say, hey, these are the developers or companies that have available, give them a call. Some place folks can go, because I do get many questions from the residents when we build. For example, without common is in Ward 6 and others to say, when are they going to be available? How can we access it? And sometimes when folks drive to or walk to that property, it's just a construction and there's not a lot of information. So maybe the city can direct residents to who we work with. That might be just feedback.
Thank you,
on my
Chair
side.
Osmond, for that comment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that presentation. And I see no one else with the motion to approve this item. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see here. Our next item is item 3 is approving appointments to the City Planning Commission for seat 4. I will welcome Kimberly Holeen from CBET to speak more about this item. Hi, welcome. Sorry.
Yes, good afternoon, Councilmember Osman. Kimberly Holeen, I'm the manager of the Land Use Design and Preservation team in CPED. The item before you is a Planning Commission appointment. It's actually a midterm appointment. So seat 4 was previously filled by Joe Campbell, and after several years of service to the Planning Commission, he had to step down due to some time commitments at his day job. So we thank him for his service, and now we're bringing forward an appointment. This is a council appointment, so we worked with council members Ellison and Osman on this. Dave Shepard is here today, and I think would be happy to say a few words, but he has expertise as an architect, and we look forward to working with him on the Planning Commission.
Thank you so much. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon,
Welcome.
Chairman Osmond.
Yes, I want to first open the public hearing and recognize you. Welcome.
Hi. Dave Shepard, Councilmember Osmond, members of the council and staff. I am Dave Shepard. I'm an architect. I moved here to Minneapolis after grad school in 1995. Hate to have that on the record, but 30 years ago, almost to the day, and I work almost exclusively in commercial work. The last 7 years has been public transportation work around the continent, the North American continent. So that's most of my professional expertise. I like to think, like most architects, I believe kind of passionately in urbanism, and I believe that the Minneapolis 2040 plan is a terrific living document, which is a benchmark for density, which I embrace as a city-positive word. And as a way of kind of giving back to the community, I'm happy to volunteer my services to advance that program in any way that I can, and I'm honored to be considered for the position, and happy to answer any questions.
Yes, thank you so much for your testimony. I will recognize if there's anyone else who is here to speak. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and also recognize Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Councilmember Osman. I don't have a question for you, David. I just wanted to say thanks so much for volunteering your time. I'm the council-appointed member to the Planning Commission, so I look forward to serving with you on this body.
And I'm in your neighborhood.
Oh, perfect. Let's go Ward 12.
Perfect.
Awesome. Vice Chair Ellison.
Can't say it any better. You guys should grab coffee, your neighbors, and you're both your colleagues on the Planning Commission. But yeah, just wanted to thank you for volunteering your time. You know, I think that we're lucky as a city and to have folks with subject matter expertise who both work for us and who know people in the community, and then folks in the community who are willing to volunteer their time to make sure that their neighbors can live, you know, in a well-built city, in a well-constructed and a well-conceived city. So thank you for stepping up, and I look forward to your contribution.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one else, I will move for approval for this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you so much. All right. Next public hearing is approving a permanent expansion premises license for Sidewalk Cafe for Black Sheep Coal-Fired Pizza. Before we open the public hearing, I will recognize Manager Amy Lingo. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Osman and committee members. I'm Amy Lingo, Manager for Licenses and Consumer Services, and I'm presenting an application for Black Sheep Coal-Fired Pizza LLC, doing business as Black Sheep Pizza. The business is located at 600 Washington Avenue North, Suites B101. It's in the North Loop neighborhood, which is in Ward 3. This application is for a permanent expansion of premises and a sidewalk cafe license. The business currently holds an on-sale liquor license with Sunday sales, no live entertainment, and sidewalk cafe. The applicant proposes to enhance their seasonal outdoor dining by leveling the current sloped sidewalk area along the east side of the building with decking. This project is intended to improve accessibility and curb appeal while providing a more functional outdoor dining experience. The new sidewalk cafe area will add an additional 24 seats, which will bring the total to 40. The proposed hours of operation are the same as the current hours of operation for the Sidewalk Cafe, which is 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. On May 28, 2025, public hearing notices were sent to residents and property owners within 300 feet, the North Loop Neighborhood Association, the Mill District Business Association, and Councilmember Rainville. There have been no significant 311 or police calls that can be attributable to the business. The License and Consumer Services Division recommends approval for the expansion of premises and sidewalk cafe license, pending all building permit approvals. This concludes my presentation, and I stand for any comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I will open the public hearing and recognize Darren Rogers.
Good afternoon, Chair Osman and City Council members. My name is Darren Rogers. I am the General Manager of Black Sheep at the North Loop. We are seeking approval for a new patio expansion that we think will enhance our safety as well as a private dining experience for our guests. We've been in the neighborhood for about 17 years, and we continue to grow with the neighborhood, which we are really, really excited about. Not only will this enhance our seating, but it will also enhance the curb appeal for the North Loop neighborhood. We've gotten a lot of feedback from the Business Association of North Loop with a lot of great ideas to add on to this patio as we move forward into the future and try to build, continue to build a great neighborhood for the North Loop.
All right, thank you so much for your testimony. I will see if there's anyone else who would like to speak. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and recognize Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. I'd love to give approval of this. I do have one quick question,
Sure,
though.
please.
That's on a slope, and I did read where you have some ideas on how to kind of terrace that slope.
Yeah, so that's been a very big issue for the last 17 years. What they ended up doing is putting picnic tables alongside that slope. It's on our east side of our building. And what that has actually done is it's created more of a public space for any past buyers. So people just grab lunch from other spots, come over there, which we don't really mind, but it brings in a crowd that most of the population in the North Loop don't want. So what we want to do is make it more private, make it really selective of this is Black Sheep's property. And how it's going to happen is it's going to be different patio layers. So just think of big steps basically coming down that slope so it's all level out, with the deepest section being about a foot tall.
Great, so just remember to pull permits so
Yeah.
our city can look at it, our inspectors.
Yeah, we're doing that right now. So I'm
Great.
just waiting on an engineer and an architect to sign off on our plans, and then everything will be submitted.
Okay, thank you, that's it.
You move the item?
I move, please.
With Councilmember Rainville's moving this item for approval, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. All right, our last public hearing is considered a host approval for issuance of tax-exempt revenue bond to the city of Iota for Minneapolis project located on Franklin Avenue and Columbus Avenue. Staff have informed me that there has been a conflict with this item. Item is host, and that public hearing will have to be continued to our next meeting. So I will be opening the public hearing today for anybody that come to speak, and I will be continuing this item on next meeting on June 24, 2025. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone else who is here to speak? See no further discussion. I will move this item to continue to the next Housing and Zoning Committee on June 2024. On that motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. All right, now we are on our final item, which is considering approval of making the Glendale Townhomes into a local historic designation. This item was discussed and referred back to the committee on June 5th during the city council meeting. I will recognize Councilmember Allison.
Thank you, Chair Osman. So I think through a lot of discussion, there's some interest in the author of this to continue doing work in the community and with MPHA, and so I'm actually going to move this back to, I'm going to refer this back to staff. This is still quasi-judicial item, and I will tap in our attorney to add any further context that we might need as we engage in this item.
Through the chair, thank you, Vice Chair Ellison. As was mentioned, this item was referred back to committee following discussion at the June 5th council meeting. It is still in quasi-judicial status, which means that your consideration and discussion of this issue should be based on the ordinance and any facts that are in the record. As I understand, the motion is going to be to refer this issue back to staff. That is a temporary disposition. As you know, it will come back to both CPED and to the attorney's office. And staff in both offices would be happy to offer you legislative briefings if you have any questions regarding either the process for approval or denial of that designation or the facts before you in the record.
Great, thank you so much for that. And so, yeah, if there is any discussion to be had, that's fine. But I'm going to make the motion to refer this back to staff, and I hope that my colleagues will support it.
Second.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one else, with that motion to send back this item to the staff, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Seeing no further business before us, with no objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you so much.
Not even 2:30.
I know. Killing it.